So yeah, I suppose just at the moment, I find it easiest um, to sort of tap into awareness in nature.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I find it easiest. So I go for a walk and I try to just tap into the senses,
Yeah.
sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. Um, and at the moment, that is where I find it easiest to um, just to tap into awareness, I suppose, is the easiest way of saying it.
Yeah.
I'm conscious of getting tangled up in words and
Yeah.
terms,
Okay. We won't worry about I, me, my, or any of those at this point, because we're just dealing with what's showing up, what's happening. There's some sense of an I that's tapping into awareness. That's all fine, because if that's the experience that's being had, we need to see that. That's great. I don't mind what I, me, my, because what we do is we look at what is that I, me, and my later. So it's all, there's no non-duality, please, here.
Okay.
I get them all the time telling me off.
All right. So yeah, so I try to spend a lot of time in nature at the moment. Um, Chat with a guy called Ashwar a couple of months ago.
Oh yeah. Simply always something, not yes.
I think Always Awake. Is it maybe
Always
Always
awake,
Awake?
something like that. Simply
Yeah,
always
yeah,
awake. I know there's Angelo's got something similar. Simply always here or something like that. Yeah, he seems like a really
yeah.
nice guy.
He's a nice guy. So I had a chat with him, and it was one of the tips that he gave me was to spend more time in nature, spend more time, yeah, just in nature. So that's something I've been consciously doing, spending time every day, going for a walk, spend more time in the senses, because one of the things that I find is that I'm just constantly caught up in thought,
Yeah.
constantly caught up in thought, to the extent that I'm very bound in terms of being a seeker. Um, so I'm always trying to think of the processes. So what'll I do today? Well, I'll go for a walk and I'll tap into the senses, and then if I'm at home, I'll try and I'm just going to observe thought today.
Yeah.
I'm very bound up in trying to find a method, a
Mm,
way.
mhm.
I watch all the videos, read all the books. Um, I think I'm just, to be honest, Collette, I'm sort of stuck. I feel like I'm stuck in seeker mode.
Mhm.
Um, I have had instances where I suppose the most recent one was watching one of David Bingham's videos.
Mhm.
And he was talking to a lady. Funny she had tinnitus. That's something I have as well. But
Oh yeah.
whatever he said to her about tinnitus, about concentrating on the sound, um, just something clicked with me. Something clicked with me, and I was able to just sit in being. I
Mhm.
had it for the rest of the day. I was able to
Oh,
just aware. I
great.
was aware of thoughts. I was aware of
Mhm.
sensations, and it just felt. The only way I can describe it was like everything was turned inside out, and I
Yes.
realized that I
Beautiful.
was just awareness.
Yes,
There
beautiful.
was just
Did you see
awareness,
my last video? I literally talk about that. I literally only put it up yesterday, and I talk about how the foreground becomes the background, and you are awareness. You're not, instead of looking for seeking presence, you are the presence. You're like, hang on a minute, it's as if the foreground went,
yeah,
or you're
yeah,
watching a movie and now you are the movie.
yeah.
You're in the
That's
movie
it.
and you are the movie. And you're like, oh, hang on a minute, I'm suddenly in what I thought I was looking at. So did that stay?
No,
Okay.
no. And I woke up the next morning, and I felt it had gone.
Okay.
Of course, I went back and started watching the videos again.
To try and
Trying
get
to
it back.
find, what did I do? What did I do? What did David say that caused that?
Yeah.
I've read David's book a few times as well, so
Oh,
that was
great.
I feel that was a really good glimpse.
Yes.
Um,
So I would offer that, when you woke up, it was probably still there because it always is. But there
yeah,
might have been a thought, have I lost it? Is it still there? Has it gone? And if you accept that thought, then you get that experience. Because you're already back in a mental realm, imagining You've got to get something that you could lose it. And in reality, you can't lose what you are. It's inherent. It's what you are. You know, we can't lose it. So that might have been just that little ticket that took you out. You know how David talks about the tickets or
The
invitations, he calls it.
The tickets, the tickets for the ride, yeah. And that was probably about 3 months ago. So, you know, I've watched a lot of his videos. I was watching that video of yours this morning as well. John Wheeler, Angelo.
Yeah, very good. Clear pointing. Yeah, I watched Angelo. He was good. John Wheeler is so clear. It's unbelievable. I mean, that's just like looking at glass. He's so clear. I don't know why he disappeared off the scene, but he's so clear. I don't know if you've got any of his audio books or anything like that.
I just have his YouTube videos, his recordings of him speaking.
Yeah, because I've got a playlist of his on my YouTube channel. You can see. I don't know if you looked at that, but there's actually, I scout it whenever I find anything of his. I just shove it in that playlist for people, because I think his pointings is so good. Even if you've just got it going on in the background, the key is not to actually try and get it with the head, just to let it wash over you, just to let it be ingrained into this knowing, to be recognized in knowing, because knowing is actually dropping out of the head. And the reason why I was prompted to record right at the very beginning, I could see you were very much based in your head. Like now you're down here with me, right? I can see you're here in being. I can see it. But at the beginning of the recording, you were up in your head. And obviously because you were trying to remember things. But I just wanted to point that out. You can actually see the difference. You're very centered now, down in being. You're not referencing a mind, a mental realm, because we can almost unplug from it. And that's what that distance is. Oh, so you know when you had that sense of I'll do it in my words. I'm not looking for awareness. I am awareness. It just is. And in that space of being, effortless being, as David beautifully describes it, because it's no effort to be, thoughts appear and disappear. Sounds appear and disappear. Sensations appear and disappear. You are the awareness in which it all appears. They can't be there without you. So it's to look this way, you know, this way. If you've ever pointed your finger at yourself, it's quite a powerful pointer. You want to try it? Look at the finger. Where is that pointing? It's pointing to who you are. That's it. Where that finger is pointing is what you are, awareness. Awareness is aware of itself now. Awareness is not projecting out to a subject object. Awareness is aware of itself. It's pointing inwards. And that's where we're going to recognize the truth, not in our heads, because the head is out of the game. The head is in the movie, in the dream, in the mental, physical, and emotional idea of a me. You know, a mistaken identity, as David beautifully points out. We mistake this mind-made self, the one that was given a name and taught that they were a body mind as a child, and told, you know, and taught subject object. We take ourselves to be that mind-made self. But we're the awareness that's aware of this, what is called an ego. But in fact, an ego isn't anything. It's just a collection of thoughts. It's not actually a thing. Yet we identify with it. And that's why it's called misidentification. So for myself, when David pointed out that there's something that's always been here throughout your life, I knew that. I'd always knew that. I was like, well, how come I don't change? The outside changes, but there's something here that never changes. There's something that's been the same when I was 5, 15, 25. And I would always say to people, I don't feel any different. I've aged, but there's nothing. Fundamentally, I've not changed. And he said that, and he said, that's your true nature. I'm like, what? That's always been there. It's what's looking through my eyes every day. So it's so obviously who we are. We miss it because it's very, very normal and everyday seeing. And so what we're doing is we're projecting out, looking for this mystical spiritual being or flash of enlightenment, or who knows what the mind's got in its ideas, its thought forms of what an enlightened or awakened or whatever idea of a me is going to be, not going to be found out there because it's already here. And I quite often point, there's not two positions. There's not your true nature and the ego. Yeah, there's only one position. There's only one thing here. There's one thing that plays all of the roles. And that's something I had to realize, even after self-realization. I was in the position of self, but I was still falling asleep to this idea of a me, because the wheel keeps going, you know, the thoughts keep going still. So a bit like you had some sort of realization, but the thoughts came back. And if you take those thoughts to be yours, you're back in the game. But there's the recognition that you are the awareness that's aware of the thought. We don't have to pick them up. There's a distance, a space, a choice. And we get to see that a thought is the same as a sound. It's not personal until we personalize it.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It is as simple as that, isn't it? Yeah.
So I would say what happened for you is you didn't become your true nature. The false fell away. You just didn't pick up this idea of you for a few moments or period of time. It was a backward movement, wasn't it? It's a backward movement into self. It's like a rolling back into self. That's exactly what it is. That is awareness aware of itself. Oh, I'm this, not who I thought I was. I'm fundamentally just this awareness. It's not a thing. So you can't actually, the mind can't get it because it's out of the game. And also it's not a thing to be observed. It's just what you are. It's like your very being that's effortless, that's always there. So of course we're never going to get it because it's not an it. It just is. It's isness. So it's so subtle, but also so fundamental that we miss it because it's always here. So we just think that's just normal. That's the I amness. Yeah. You know, you're just amness. You just are, aren't you? If somebody said, are you aware? Where'd you go? You don't go to the mind you don't have to check a mind to know that you're aware. You just inherently are aware. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's your true nature. Right there. Undeniably am. It's just the I gets identified as this. the one that's not even it's like a limitation of this. Your true nature just is awareness, aware of everything, and it can be aware of itself. It like points in and goes, oh, that's that backward movement, is awareness aware of itself, awareness aware of the world, awareness aware of itself. So that backward movement into recognition of, oh, which is dead easy. You just did it. I said, are you aware? And immediately we sort of go, because it's undeniable. You just are. That's it. And it's so close and so easy, we miss it. And what will happen is we see it all day long because we are it, but we pick up the identity because there's a pattern of thoughts that we believe are ours. Because they're made up of experiences that when I do this, I mean your true nature. I'll just do shapes, it's easier. That this one thing can shape and pattern and have an experience of a denser vibration or physical, mental, and emotional experience. But it's only ever this doing it. And you see, it's only ever your awareness having okay, I'm going to accept that thought and I'm going to have that experience. I've lost it. It's just how life can experience itself. And it experiences itself to such a degree, it falls asleep. And it's in the game. It's like we've just opened up and stepped into a dream. Mm-hmm. Have a separate self in the world that's got to survive, got to control its environment because I feel separate. All very real, a very real, very, very real separation experience. But what's experiencing it is this. is your true nature, untouched by the whole game, because it's never ever, it's not in the game. it's just sort of, it's in the game, but as itself, the self. It never becomes separate. Just like gold shapes into bangles, but it never separates from gold. It's still gold.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Can you see that? You are what you're looking for. You're just looking in the wrong direction. You're looking outward.
Yeah,
In the
yeah,
videos, in the scriptures,
yeah.
and you already are it. You're
I
amazing.
know.
You're
Yeah,
already amazing, already whole, already complete. You know, because when you're just being, it's effortless. It's because you're being what you are. It's actually effort to be a person. It's exhausting to be a person. It actually takes a lot of energy because it comes with the separation. I am separate ticket, which is exhausting because it's survival, it's security, it's fear, and intelligence. So it's constantly in survival mode. I'm a separate self that's got to survive. Whereas this is like, it's untouched by that, by whatever happens, completely untouched. It's not born and it doesn't die. You know, the physical body, yes, is going to, we've got like vehicles, we've hopped in cars, you know, we never become the vehicle. We just get to experience through it. We never become it, but we've taken that as our position. We've taken a body and a mind as, so the limited experience of the self that's just a whole and complete and just magnificent limits itself. And we take that secondary position to be who we are. In fact, there's not two positions. There is only one position, the self, but there's an experience of two positions. That's why we fall asleep, because we're experiencing a secondary position and we think that's who we are. That's misidentification right there. Job done. You're awake.
Yeah, yeah.
So are there thoughts coming up that we can have a look at?
Yeah. I suppose the thoughts that are coming up, you know, as to why is it difficult for me to realize this? Why?
Okay.
You know, all that you're saying is resonating with me. Um, I almost get a physical reaction to pointers in my chest, you know. And I can feel it. I can feel it, but the mind is still stepping in and
That's
accepting those
okay.
invitations and I'm accepting those tickets. Um,
There is, can I just point out, there's no mind that's accepting a ticket. You see, if we, that's why it's good to verbalize this, so we can look at the false, see through the false, and we can recognize the truth. That's all we ever have to do. See through the false and recognize the truth. So there is no, where is this mind that's accepting the tickets? Where is it? In reality, in direct
yeah,
experience, where is it? So you're believing something that we can't actually find. So there's a big clue there. There's just a belief that hasn't been looked at. So that's where self-inquiry comes in. But we don't do self-inquiry from the mind. We do it from being. Have you ever done self-inquiry?
yeah. I mean, again, as self-inquiry is part of my processes where I try to take 10 minutes each day and sit and say, who is aware of the thoughts or to whom is the thought arising?
Yeah.
And I try and get again, it's probably just, I don't want to say the mind, but the thoughts want to have a process.
Yeah.
So, you know, I spend 10 minutes each morning doing meditation where I just sit in awareness, where I just sit and let everything arise. And then evening time is more self-inquiry. So I sit and wait for the thoughts to come up. And like, to whom is the thought arising? Who is aware of this thought? I keep trying to rephrase it to
And
get a
what do you get
different.
when you ask those questions?
You know, sometimes I get that it just directs me to that
No place.
no place, and I can
Yeah.
sit there, and it's the most beautiful place to be. I used to be able to
Can I just
spend,
point out that that is who you are, that no space?
yeah, yeah.
Can
But
you
then
feel that now?
sometimes
I just
I can
pointed
feel,
to that. Let's
yeah,
just point to that.
hmm
So there's this space that you seem to be able to have an experience of going to, that actually when we look is always there. Can you recognize that place now? Just that space of being. So it looks like you're going to a mind now.
yeah, I am,
That's fine. You know,
because
later, what I tend to do is we get everything out here, and then it's almost like I'll walk home with you and we have a look. I mean, in theory, we're not going anywhere, you know. I can talk, it's sort of like we talk it as if it's a process, a walking home to realize we never left. So there's sort of a practice until we throw all practice away and realize we didn't need any of them. But it's just how this emptiness dances. So we will look together. So that's okay. It's just every time I see an opportunity, I'm going to point to it, because I never know when it's the right pointer. And I can't sit here and let somebody go off away from what they are. You know, it seems I can't like go, I can't hold your hand and take you into the dream. I can't come in the dream with you. I'm just going to say back here, back here, because that's my job. I'm not going to go deep in the dream. You know, it's good to find out what we're dreaming about. But I'm always going to say, actually, what's here? What's actually here? What's actually here? So there's a sense of going up to a mind, and we're going to look at that, because I can see the mechanism of the mind, because the mind is like a commentator. You know, so you could say there's just an awareness of sound. Now, the mind's not going to say that. The mind's going to say, oh, I can hear a lawnmower. Oh, damn. He always does his lawn mowing at 6:30 in the morning. I really hate that. It's a commentator. It's going to describe, because it's fear and intelligence. So it's going to, it's threat, annoyance, resistance. It's going to have a story about why it doesn't like that and why it's had an opinion on you should be, whereas awareness is just like there's an awareness of a sound. That's the difference. And the difference of, we're going to do it together, but I'm just pointing to you while we're here in this expressive place, that when we look, and so that I'll just demonstrate, we won't go there, but we're just going to demonstrate, you know, this I am. We can look this way, and who am I? I am Collette in a world, you know, Adrian in a world, I don't know, married or whatever it is. There's a story of you, yeah? And then there's the opportunity to look within, for the doors of facing that way. I am in a world and a person. They come this way. I am. Who am I? I am. Without mental activity, there's nothing there. There's just a space of being. And I'm labeling that to try and talk about it. There's like a deep well of no thing, yeah?
Yeah.
That's fundamentally what we are. In absolute reality, we are no thing. We're attributeless being. Even that is sort of bubbling up to something. Yeah, I'm sort of. So when we look, and I'm doing it in this open expressive place, when we look and there's no thing, the most important thing is to not let the mind comment on what that no thing is. Oh, look, there's no thing. Is that the absolute? Oh, that's interesting. Have I got it? Have I got, oh, will I keep this later when I'm not with, that's what happens. And it's a mechanism of bouncing up to reference, to check, to comment, to box and label and oh, I've got it. I've got it. So what we're doing is we're looking at what we are, staring into this deep well of being. And what I say is, stay there. Do not limit it by going to the mental realm to describe it, because you're out. You never leave it. But what you're doing is you're limiting it, and you're having an experience of mental activity about it. And in a way, it's as if you're leaving it. You're not. You're just looking in the other direction. You're looking away from what you are, trying to work out what you are. So can you see how this mechanism, and that's why I wanted to do it out in this loud, noisy world to show you of in this expressive place, what happens. Yeah. We're going to take you there. So it's to notice there's a pull to go up to a mind to comment. And as soon as you notice that, there's an awareness of, you just come back. And I want you to just look into this inky blackness of self, no self, and stay there. Because that's what you're looking for. It's the depth of your being. It's just the foundation, the sheer depths of isness. And if we stare long enough into the no self, into the foundation of you, it's undeniable then. You've seen the truth of your being. But if we let the mind commentate on it, we missed it. We've jumped and we're off running to the races in the opposite direction. I've got it, I've got it, I've got it. As if it's a balloon that we can run with. Oh, this is delicious. I'm so enjoying this. Oh dear. So it's to know when you're going up to the mind, and I can see you going up to work it out.
Yeah.
There, yeah, you're up, sort of waving in the ethers, up there. La, 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 la. And we're just going to drop into being together. And then that distance will show you that we don't have to pick up a mind. It's just a limitation. It's a habit. Don't have to do it. Back up in mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay, but we're seeing it now. Whereas before you might not have seen it. So we're seeing it in real life. This sort of dropping down into being. You know, when you said you look, I spend some time being. It's there. It's always there when we look. So you've already had that recognition. A lot of people wouldn't be able to see that. So you've already had the recognition of your true nature. You're just listening to thoughts that you haven't. You can't not be what you are. It's just that you're believing you're something else when it's been offered up. But of course, you can't be thought forms.
No.
They're rainbows. They look like something. They're convincing, but actually in reality, there's nothing there. It's just space. They come up and they go, so they're not consistent. They appear and disappear. They're transient. What's always there? Your true nature, watching it all. Like some golden Buddha. Always there. Never. And so there is just an experience of leaving, but you never leave. There is an experience of losing it, but you can't lose it. But it's all just experience, born out of the senses, born out of thought forms that we pay attention to. It's the attention. So you want your attention this way, this way, not that way, not up, down, down, down. So you can walk in the world awake because you're already recognizing it. You're like, well, I just go to being and have a little look at it. and then you pick up an idea of a me that goes off. You have this little thought forms that I go into being I leave being. Who's this I?
I know. Yeah.
Who is that I? I'm asking you right here, right now. Who is that I? And it's to look, not to go up to the mind to have a concept. Not something you've ever heard. You're looking, direct experience. Who is this I? Can we find them? In being. So stay with that. Don't go to the mind going, oh, we don't need a comment from the mind. We have seen it and we are staying with it. There is no I. Oh, going up to the mind. It's okay. I'm here to keep you down. So we turned and looked, and can we find an I in direct experience that's coming and going, that's leaving? Where is this I? Can we draw a line from that thought? I leave, I see my true nature, and then I leave it. Can we draw a line and pin it on an I? Can we find that I?
No.
So stay with the no. There is no actual I. So we're seeing through this false identity. There's no I. There's no individual I. Just not there. It's not true. It's a thought we've been believing, and we've looked at it and it's not true. So how can you pick that back up again? Who would be picking it up? Who's picking up tickets? Stay in the body. Who's picking up tickets? Oh, it's just gorgeous, isn't it? The whole game is just ridiculous.
It's just a game. Yeah.
Yeah. You're brilliant. You're staying down and looking into that inky well of no self, looking for an I. It's like the truth, the light of truth is shining. We can't find an I, a me or a my. Oh, that's,
Yeah.
I mean, normally I take people really deep when I do this, but it's not happening with you, so that's fine. We're staying here. Can we find a mind? Where is this mind? Has it got a shape? Or is it just the thought?
It's just thoughts.
There's no mind, huh?
There's no.
No, there's no mind. There's just this inky, deep well of being that's actually not a thing. It just is an ocean of being. It can manifest it into everything, but it never becomes anything. It remains unmanifested, untouched, formless awareness, ageless, simply always there. You know, whatever that guy's website was. Just this. So these are all pointers to that inky black space of being that you are, the depths of your being. Yet it's not dull. The mind wants to comment, well, there's nothing here, it's boring. And that's just a comment from the mind. What it actually is, it's the whole of creation. It has the potential to create everything and remain as nothing. It's absolutely stunning when we take enough time to look at it. And when I say look at it, we are it. You know, we're looking, awareness is aware of itself now. The game's up. It's looking at itself going, and can you see you can't leave this because it's what you are. So you can't leave. Can't leave. It's what you are. It's just an experience. This has. Can you see there's no two positions? Just this one position. And it limits itself as an experience of separation. That's why it's believable. Because there is an experience of separation. But what is experiencing separation is this. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's so obvious we miss it because it's what we are. No matter how many times we hear it. And it's actually just so peaceful because we're not having to do anything. It's like the nervous system, that separate self idea of a, you know, a nervous system of a survival can just go like we've unplugged. I mean, some people would say you've unplugged from the matrix. I don't particularly speak in those terms, but it just, this whole is a bit like we've unplugged from the idea of separation.
Yeah.
From operating through the mental, physical, and emotional thinking that's they are just options. They are just ways of experiencing separation. But now you can do it wide awake. And you don't actually have to. You realize there is no you, the no I, no me, no mine, no mind. It's all just an experience this can have. Everything's appearing and disappearing in this. The moment is appearing and disappearing. You can't pin it down. It's just ever fresh, brand new, just this, over and over again, just this moment. There isn't actually any time until we step into that world of a separate self, because it's just ever fresh moment. Ever fresh, ever fresh, ever fresh. Absolutely stunning, beautiful, crystal clear. Yeah, we have to go to a past to reimagine it and bring it here, because it doesn't actually exist. It's a rainbow. It's not here now, the past. And the future is not here now. We have to project an idea of a self in a future and drag it here and cover this crystal clear moment with thoughts of a future, because it'll only ever be now.
Mm-hmm.
It's only ever now. There's only ever this, and it's only ever now. And it's something that's undeniable when you look. It's not something I've given you. It's something you've seen. It's not a thought. It's direct experience of just being what you are. Just being. Effortless. It takes no effort to just be. You just are effortless being. So David, that no self, manifest, have an experience of a physical body, and walk in the world from wisdom and love. They're the first two. Don't go any further than that. Don't go mental, physical, emotional, just stay here. So it's so the love here is uncaused, you know, because everyone you start, doesn't all happen at once, but you start to realize everybody you see is this, and potentially having an experience of separation or unity. So everybody is you, the fundamental ground of being. Everybody is life experiencing deep separation, where they're going to kill somebody, or deep unity, where they're going to give up their life, not even think about it, to save somebody else. It's just how life can express itself. So it doesn't see anything as good or bad, which is crazy to a mind, a separate self, because it doesn't see anything good or bad because it's untouched. This is just how life is never killed. Life is always here. It just temporarily takes shapes and patterns and has an experience of individuality, but it never becomes individual, just like the gold becoming a bangle. So it's completely untouched, forever present. Spontaneous action. You know, there's a mind claiming everything, but actually it's all just spontaneous action. You can be brushing your teeth and you can look and you think, oh, look at that. It's just teeth being brushed. Oh my goodness, I thought it was me. It's just an action of teeth brushing. There's a mind saying, well, we've looked and there isn't a mind, but we talk in those terms because this is a collective idea that we have this mind. When we look, we can't find it. So, you know, this is just patterned speech. You know, there's some idea of a self that says, oh, I'm brushing my teeth. It just claims everything. There's you know, you're thirsty, so you go, oh, I'm thirsty. But prior to that, there's a recognition of the need to have water, just a spontaneous recognition, a spontaneous yawn. Your hair's growing, you're not growing it. You know? It's all just happening. But we have an idea of a me that's doing it all. I'm getting up. You know, you'll reach for something as you leave the door. Oh, I'm so glad I remembered that. But you're already reaching for it. It was already happening.
Yeah, yeah. The mind's commentating after the fact, isn't it?
Yeah. It just once you see it, yes.
Yeah,
And then it just doesn't do it anymore because there's no idea of a
yeah,
self that would be doing it.
yeah.
So can you see that thoughts just arise in this awareness?
Very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. You are that's aware of thoughts. You know, they're appearing in you because you are everything, the space in the room and all the things appearing in the room, because there's just one thing here playing all of the roles.
And I mean, there's some of the thoughts that are saying,
Yeah.
immediately they're saying, how do I get back to this place where I'm in now?
Yeah, great. So we'll have a look.
But I can see that that's just a thought.
Yeah, brilliant. Because you can't leave, because we've seen it together and we've looked, and you did exactly what I asked. You looked in that inky wellness without going up to a mind, and you saw it over and over again. And that's the key, to see it until it's undeniable. So if there's ever a suggestion that you can leave, it's laughable. You're like, hang on, how can I leave what I am? And this just becomes clearer and clearer. I know it's silly, isn't it? It's it's actually insanity when you start looking at it.
It just, I
How
mean,
can you not be what you are?
you know, I was thinking one day, I was reading Nisargadatta. I was reading his book, I Am That, and I was actually thinking, my mind, well, there was thoughts coming up.
Yeah.
I should get a tattoo. I should get a tattoo just saying I am that. You know, just so I can keep looking at it, just to remind myself that I am that. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Because
It's
who would have been
nonsense.
doing that? The character, the idea of a you. Yeah. Yeah. I am that. I am.
It's just like, again, looking for the processes. It's looking, right, what do I have to do each day? What do I do? Follow the thoughts.
So that, can you see that is just an idea of a you that was mistaken identity? It was just a forward projection into a world of separation, me and the world. But actually it's a backward step into self to go, oh, I was always this. That was just a limited experience. And it was always this experiencing.
Yeah.
And it was just almost like a projection. It's almost like you stretch this and have an experience of limitation, but never becomes that. It just brings back again. You never left. It was just literally a projection. It was just shaping, patterning himself to have that experience, but you never left the self. There's just one thing here. So I always used to say to myself, what's actually happening? You know, if there's a tendency to pick up thoughts again, just because they're pattern behavior that you recognize. So the attention is used to going this way to certain thoughts. And I call them sticky thoughts, like sticky notes. So there can be a tendency, because it's as if, okay, we've seen through the game. Undeniably, you've seen your true nature. I didn't even have to take you there. You just, because you'd already been recognizing it each day, which was brilliant. And I do say to people every morning, just turn inwards and look what's here. Just be. And I sometimes do it for 2 hours. I get up, make a coffee, go to bed, and sit there for 2 hours, just because I get up at 5. I just wake up at 5 and I think, okay, we're just being, you know, because that's what I am, but I'm turning in. My attention is on being. My attention is on what I am. The I am that I am. The I am that I am. Down to the you just can't unsee it when you dive into being. Because it's the core of you. It's it's everything. It's undeniable. It's like running through your veins. It's you, you know? It's every single cell out there, everything, every atom, I don't really know biology that well, but it's everything. And yet you can see that it's not a thing, but it can create everything. And that's, you know, so we don't fix anywhere. We don't get fixed in the being and ignore all of that, because that is what we are. So that's the emptiness dancing that Adishanti talked. He had a book, didn't he? I haven't read the book, but I just love the title.
Beautiful phrase.
It's beautiful, isn't it? Now you can feel it. There is no thing appearing as everything. So it's the emptiness dancing. It's fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just want to melt into that. And that's what it feels like sometimes. It feels like there's an ice cube just melting into being. You know, this separate self just melts. And that's sort of what seems to happen. The more you recognize what you are, you just melt into that. And these patterns and structures just die, just wither, just drop. Because they're just not, you're not interested in them, because you know they're not true. You know, I was trying to draw a line for you. I was going, okay, there's this statement. Does it have can I pin it on anything? The one that was saying it was coming and going, where is it? Where is that one? So it's to see through the false. If anything arises, you see through the false. Hang on a minute. Who's suffering? You know, there can be a resistance. So the body is brilliant because it shows you when you're picking up separation. So there can be a squeeze when somebody says something you don't like. And you think, oh, that's interesting. There's resistance. I'm picking up separation. I'm seeing them as not me. I'm seeing them as I have a point of view and I don't like theirs. So you can see that you're sort of entering the game with this squeeze. So it's just to watch the squeeze, not to push it away, not to resist it, just like that's interesting. Because life is quite interested in itself. You'll find it's always like, oh, that's quite interesting. But we're not invested. We're not saying, oh, we've got loads to clean up before we are fully there. No. There is no not fully there. You are fully there. Can't not be. Yeah. You're not falling back into that game, but there can be some residual leftover stuff hanging around. It's because it's patterned. It's patterned so much. It's almost like grooved and believed in. Yeah. So there might be something. So mine was a squeeze until I watched the squeeze. It got less and less till it was nothing there. And then there might be a push and pull, you know, resistance to what's happening. There'll be a thought, I don't like this. Traffic jam, saying something normal. Traffic jam. Oh, I don't like this. Oh, that's interesting. Who doesn't like it? Oh, that's interesting. And it drops. You know, the push and pull drops because you've seen through. There was just a comment. They didn't like the traffic. And then there might be an emotion. You know, there might be a wave. And you just watch it all. There might be some sort of anger arises and then goes. It only stays if you resist it, because you're believing in somebody who's angry. So it's to just allow the anger to move through. So you just watch it. You don't push it. You don't want to fix it. You don't need to get rid of it. It's just, and sometimes you might need that burst of anger. Somebody might be reversing into your car and you go, hey, you stop. And they stop. You don't sit there as the Buddha and not say anything. Let them just reverse into your car. You know, there's going to be spontaneous expression, emotion, but they're not they're not a separate self's emotions. They're just blowing through. Because, you know, as a separate self, we're sort of taught not to feel emotions, not to push them away and not to express them, and you know, children do it. You know, they get angry at their friend and they come running to you. They're so upset, and then 2 minutes later they're playing with their friend again, completely forgotten. And we're still going, right, I'm going to speak to their mother about that because that was not good. Kids are blown through. They're because they're not holding on to a separate, she did that to me. You know, they're not doing that. Yeah. It was the moment they were upset, now they're over it. So it's just to allow that to just, and you don't really, because there's no this, it doesn't really happen for me. I don't really notice. There can be thoughts, but we don't resist the thoughts. I'm just not interested. There can be, they can feel like they're 5 rooms away, like a broken record. And you might suddenly go, oh my goodness, thoughts are still going. I had no idea. Because you're just not interested in them, because you don't believe who they're coming to. You don't believe there's no belief in there's no identity in them. You don't personalize them. Sorry, it's going to take down. Oh, so delicious just to be. So you're going up to a mind there?
A little. It just, I mean, it's just an automatic thing.
Yeah, we can just see it and notice it. It's nothing wrong. You know, there is actually nobody going up there. There is just a rebound mechanism that we've been, you see, we've identified with this thinker, but there is actually nobody thinking, no separate self thinking. It's just the potential to use mental faculties to compare and contrast, and that intellectual knowledge, but it's all limited. Whereas here, you know, we were talking about walking in the first two koshas, like David points to, David Bingham, the wisdom and love. So we talked about the love. Love is just unconditional love. So you just find yourself falling in love with people. It's a very different, it's not a, well, you're nice to me, so I'll be nice to you. You love me, I'll love you. Yeah, I don't like what you're doing, so I don't love you. It's not that type of love. It's just unconditional. And it just comes over you. You see somebody and you just fall for them. You're falling for yourself because there's only one thing here, the self. So you're recognizing yourself. The self, that's why I said when I came on, I was like, oh, this is so much fun because it's just the self talking to the self. I could see that you're just me. So I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. We're just talking. It's just the self talk. It's like that it likes to have play. It's like playing tea parties. Should we have tea? There's nothing in the cups. You know, should we play two people? But it's actually two people here. You see how it's all just.
Yeah.
It's all just sort of a little bit of a make-believe game that we don't have to take so seriously. Yes, there are still serious things in the world, not denying that. But it's all just the self playing all of those roles. And it doesn't mind because it's untouched. And I used to get really angry when they said, you know, the sense of self that I was like, do not call it a dream. When they call that a dream, I used to get my back up because I was like, this is very real, which it does feel very real because it is a real experience. You know, people are getting ill, people are killing each other, people are, you know, it's all real, but it's to see who it's happening to. It's happening to life. I like to just call it life because it's, and life cares about life. So it's not like we just, I mean, why am I helping people to wake up? I could just sit in being. Life cares about life. It's like, wake up, wake up. It's all a dream. Don't suffer. You don't need to. So life is waking itself up. So funny.
That's a lovely phrase. Yeah.
I mean, normally I take people, you know, we'll do the mechanism of what I use just so you've got it here on film, because in case there's a tendency to go to the mind. But I really loved the fact that you, when I questioned you, you said, yes, well, I can just go to being. Now you recognize the reason you can just go to being is because you're just turning around and looking at yourself.
Yeah.
You know that thing of like you knocking on the door from the inside. That I never got that till I got it. You know, you are the being knocking on the door from the inside saying, I'm trying to find my true nature. Or like the fish looking for, have you seen water? I can't find any water. You're in the water. It's everywhere. There's nothing but water.
Yeah.
It's just here. It just is. It's nowhere to go. We're knocking from the inside saying, I can't find myself. What's knocking is the self. It's the self. There's nobody seeking really. It's just a game. Oh, So we'll just do a little bit, just in case you find yourself with this drifting up into the mental realm.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I point to it was the way that happened to me was when I just sat down on a sofa outside, and I had this sort of flip. The foreground became the background. I didn't call it that. I called it a vision flip. I went from looking to be present to recognizing I was the presence. So I can feel that movement, the difference between the subject object and the collapsing of the subject object. So I use this pointer as a way of, it's so tricky to talk about it because we're not going anywhere, yeah. Yet we've just got to, it's just a way of disengaging from the mental realm, dropping that mental, physical, and emotional. We don't go there, we limit ourselves. So it's just to unplug from those, to rest and be. So if it's getting active, the mental, you can just unplug. So I described the movement that happened to me and the sensations that happened. So there'll come a point where you don't need this. I remember demonstrating it to people, and I was going through it, feeling it, dropping down. And then one day I was like, oh, it's like a rainbow. I never leave. What am I going on about? But it seems to be these things are helpful until you don't need them.
Mm-hmm.
So if the mental realm is, firing up, there's just this sense that we can open our focus. And in that opening, we're sort of resting back. And we're more, instead of got to get that idea of separate self that's not complete, we're more resting into what we already are. So the focus opens, and it's more like peripheral vision, but you can actually close your eyes if you like. So there's this open focus now. We're not narrowing, because we have to limit ourselves to go into the mental, physical, emotional realm. So as we open the focus, there's some sense that there's a distance, there's an openness. And then there's this leaning back, letting go of any need to get anything, because everything we need is already here. This being and knowing, this wisdom and love, all the wisdom we need is already here, but not held by a separate person. It's an ocean of wisdom that spontaneously arises when you need it. So there's this opening of the focus and this resting back. It's in this sort of state of allowing everything just to be as it is. We don't need to fix, change, or improve anything. And then there's this sense that we live in the head sometimes. We feel a little bit heady, because that's where we've been taught to, what to use as all the way through schooling, the world we live in, these bodies experience. So there's some sense of being able to drop down, down, down. And we use the physical body as sort of a tuning fork, so we can recognize whether we're rested down in being. We never leave being, but there's that more of our attention is on being. There's the awareness aware of itself, this sense of we're just unplugging from everything else and we're just being with what is. So we start to peel away the labels. There's some sort of awareness of the contact points of the body in the seat and the feet in the ground. So this is just directly experiencing the contact points now, without going to the mental realm to describe what's happening. We're just feeling into direct experience of what's happening. So there's an awareness of the contact points, the body in the seat and the feet on the ground. There's some sort of groundedness now. We can peel away the labels, body and seat and feet and ground. So there's just an awareness of sensations in awareness. So we're just feeling into those sensations. And we can even peel away the label sensations. Again, we're just direct experiencing what's there. And this can also be done with emotions, you know, if you ever have an emotion come up, you can just be with it, peel away the labels. And it starts to dissipate because the story of it isn't there, whether it's good or bad or shouldn't be. So we're just directly experiencing what's here without visiting the mental realm to comment on what's here. And there's some sort of sense of a physical body, some remembrance. And there's some sort of idea of an inside of the body, an area inside of the body. And there's some sort of idea of an area outside of the body. You can feel into these two areas. But can we actually, in direct experience, feel where the inside and the outside meet? Is there actually a boundary to the body in direct experience without labels? Is there an area where the inside and the outside meet? Just a yes or no answer. Can you find an area where the inside and the outside meet?
No.
Okay. So we're just feeling into that. So there's just a space of being that's unbound, that's not limited by a physical body in reality when we look. And this is undeniable. This is your direct experience. When we actually look, there's no boundary to the body. What we are is formless awareness. And you can directly experience that. This is not a concept. You can directly experience that you can't actually find a boundary when we look. We're aware. When we just keep feeling out, we're just space, spaciousness, and putting labels on what's there. But it just is, it's isness, formless. And this is where you do inquiry. So we might have a little look at some of the things we said earlier, although we've sort of the game's a bit up really. So there was a statement earlier, and we don't need to go to the mind for this. We're just staring into this ocean of being. We just are the ocean of being, you know. I feel like I'm stuck in seeker mode. Who would that be? Can we find them?
No.
No. We can't actually draw a line from that statement. It's just not true. There is nobody who's stuck in seeker mode.
Yeah.
It was this all along, wasn't it? So there was the statement, I tap into awareness when I go into nature. So there wouldn't be an I, would there? Can we find that? No, you are aware. You are nature. You are awareness. The reason you were tapping in is because it's what you are.
Yeah.
You were just recognizing what you were. Yeah, what you are.
Yeah.
And there was just this identification with an I that was doing it. But we've seen an I. So funny when you see it.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else. So before there was some sort of experience this I'd had. And then there was a statement, I felt it had gone. Who would that be?
That sounds ridiculous now. Yeah.
So we can see that we can't lose this. It's what we are. There's never leaving. There's no coming and going. There could be an experience of coming and going, but it's not believed in because there is no one that's coming and going because there is just this. And if there is an experience, if there's a thought and it's picked up, you absolutely know you can't leave. It's just an experience this is having. And straight away you turn and look and it's not gone anywhere. And you were doing that already. You were saying, I checked with you and you said, well, when I look, it's there. So there's no coming and going. It's always there. It's what you are. The thoughts appear in this. The emotions appear in this.
Yeah.
Any sense of separation, push and pull, contraction, it's all just appearing in this, and you are not that, because that comes and goes. That can only be here with this, witnessing it. Doesn't exist. It's just an experience this can have, and it's optional. Don't have to limit yourself. It's optional. There was the thought, tap into awareness. Who would be tapping into awareness?
Oh, no. Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay. So we never berate ourselves if it happens that you pick up a thought. It doesn't matter, because if we go, damn, I picked up a thought, who would be saying that? It's just an experience this is having. So we don't tell ourselves off. We just go, oh, I'm awake. Oh, I was believing in separation for a moment there. Oh, I'm awake. Of course I'm awake. Can't go to sleep. Who goes to sleep? Who actually self-realizes? Who's waking up? Who awakens? I mean, the whole thing is just, you know, I was talking about we walk backwards to realize we never left. There are stepping stones and then they all disappear. You were like, oh.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go.
Yeah.
A little bit like you could be up in the mind, or are you just in a space, open mind? And rested down and being. Ocean of being. Dropping down, down, down into this depth of being, this knowing, you know, being. When you feel into that, what being is, the pointer of being, you know, I point to the word being, and then it's to dive in beyond the word being to what I'm actually pointing to. Being is actually very similar to knowing. Being and knowing, if you feel into those two things, to what the pointer is pointing to. It's just this inherent sense of being. And with that being is just inherent, it just knows, it's just intelligent. You know, David Bingham would call it wisdom and love. It just is. Intelligent, and it's unconditionally loves itself. I never knew what self-love was. I always thought it was a bit egotistical. But now I realize the self just loves itself because it's just love.
Yeah.
And then that's why then when it sees anybody else, it just starts to love everybody else, because it's seeing itself. It's not, even if they're playing very, very separate, it's still realizing that it's just itself deep in the game of separation.
Yeah.
And these things can take a little bit of time. So the mind might say, well, I'm not saying that. We just don't pick that up. All these things, it's like a slow dawning. Well, it was for me. All these things sort of started to fall into place. I'd just fall for people when I saw them, the most unlikely people ever. I once went on a Zoom call with 10 people and I just fell for them all straight away, and I couldn't speak. I went red. You know how, you know, that sort of young blush of love when you see somebody and you're embarrassed because you're falling in love with them. I fell in love with 10 people all at once. And I didn't know what it was. I was like, oh, I just composed myself. And I looked back at the video. I was like, oh, I was just falling in love with everybody. Wow. Just, the self was just saying the self in everybody. And I was saying, oh, I don't quite know what's happening. I'm just, oh my God, you're all just so gorgeous. It's just the self loving the self. It's just is love. It's not this conditional love that the separate self experiences love, but then has an agenda about it. And then you just have moments of just silence, more and more, that you just feel like you melt into, like that ice cube. You just go, oh, yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. It's just a neutrality, isn't it?
Yes. So when I had that flip, you know what I mean by when I say I, It's this universal I is talking through this expression. There was this experience of a flip, and I just was like, well, everything just is. And things would happen that would normally have thought about and worry and a story about, you know, how much is that going to cost? Oh my goodness. And I was just like, it's just what's happening. It didn't mean I didn't take action, but there was no story about anything. There was no picking up a story, no suffering. I pretty much have had no suffering from that first flip before I saw through the separate eye. I'm not saying I've not had push and pull, I've not had contraction, but I've just witnessed it all. I thought, oh, that's interesting. What is that? I have got lost in thought. I have felt like I've fallen asleep and woken up. That did happen at the beginning. And then at one point I was like, oh, I don't leave. Oh my goodness, I don't leave. I'm always here. Oh, it's just an experience. Oh, and then I recognize there's not two places. There's only one. Oh, oh God. I was believing I got it, lost it, which a lot of people when they first wake up. And really, maybe I had to go through that to be able to experience. Don't worry, you haven't lost it. It's just this experiencing. There's nothing else here. So that's what I always use. What's actually happening? If I got pulled into that, I'd just stop and go, okay, what's true? What do I absolutely know is true? What's direct experience? There's nothing here. There's no sufferer. There's no, in reality, in absolute reality. Yes, in all of this, there is suffering. I'm not denying other people are suffering, not at all. Not denying the ever-changing world. And you can be there for people, but you don't have to enter the suffering. You don't have to join them in their pain. You can literally hold them and let them be who they are. You can, it's almost like you're the space for them to express that pain or that suffering, and you can just hold the space for them. And you just allow them, and that's all anybody wants. They just want to be who they are, whereas we want to fix, change and improve them. And I was a real fixer, changer, improver. I was always trying to help people because it was sort of a natural thing, but it was coming from a separate self with an agenda, you know. Because if you're okay, then I'm okay, because we've entered into the pain with them. So we need their pain to stop so we don't feel pain. And actually there's something quite beautiful in allowing people just to experience what they need to experience and not make them wrong or needed to be fixed, allowing them just to process it, just to be with it. So can you see, it's almost like a dance. It's a, you know, like he says, emptiness dancing. It's this wave-like action of self just dancing. So you allow people to be, it's this flow state as well, isn't it? It's just this flow, just this of being, shaping and patterning, and it's forming separate selves, like we're just appearing as two separate selves, and then you'll be gone. And are you there? I don't know. Till you appear in front of me again, I don't know. I have to go to a mind and start imagining you.
I'm going to just sit here for a while, I think.
Yeah, I'll stop the recording.